Here I have FEMA's Ready.gov emergency supply list. I've talked about this on the channel before, and it is a decent start, especially if you're just trying to get through little short-term emergencies. But this isn't the only list that FEMA has. This is a list that they post on the internet for us normies to use, but there's a lot of other more advanced items that they want their employees and volunteers to have, and that's what we're going to talk about today. First up, we have signal flares and road flares. Now, on their list, they do mention having a whistle, but flares can be more useful in certain situations. Say you break down by the side of the road, it's at night, light yourself a flare, stick it on the road, and you're a little less likely to get wiped out by some idiot not paying attention. Then for, more serious emergencies, say there's a flooding situation, you're trapped, it's night, people can't see you. You can light a flare and it's going to be a lot easier for them to find your location. As far as cost goes, you can get like a little 3-pack of road flares for somewhere between like 16 and 20 bucks. Or you can get yourself an aerial flare kit that has a little flare gun and I think like 4 flares for around 90 or 100 bucks. Next up, we have heavy-duty 5-gallon plastic buckets with tight-fitting lids. On their list, they mentioned having things like heavy-duty trash bags. And of course, those are good for containing both household and human waste, but without some sort of, rigid structure around them, they can get punctured very easily, and then you have a horrible, unholy mess on your hands. In addition to containing waste, buckets can also act as emergency toilets as well. You can go the cheap route and just cut a pool noodle, stick it on top over your trash bag, or you can go out and buy yourself a bucket toilet seat lid for around like 15 or 20 bucks. If you do that though, you may also want to pick up some kitty litter just to help keep the odor down. Then after that, we have CPR face masks, and these aren't in most of the lists that Ready.gov puts out. And CPR masks are one of those things that if you're CPR certified, it's good to have in your EDC bag and pretty much every kit that you have, because in emergency situations, people are stressed out. They might be doing more physical activity than what they're used to. And in those kinds of situations, things like cardiac arrest, they can happen more frequently, and other health issues that might require somebody to have CPR. And you don't know who you might have to be doing CPR on. They might be sick, they might have some sort of illness that could be passed on to you. I know that when I was growing up, my dad, he had to do CPR on multiple people just randomly at restaurants we were at. I remember we were sitting down one Sunday afternoon at a restaurant. He tried to go to the bathroom. Next thing you know, he was having to save somebody's life. Also, he had to clear the counter at a church's chicken back, I think, when I was in middle school. That's a funny story in and of itself. But these CPR masks, they're pretty stinking cheap. Usually they're available in around the $10 range. Then one thing that FEMA definitely recommends that its employees and volunteers have is N95 respirators or better. And FEMA does include what they call a dust mask on their list, but that can mean a lot of different things. But N95s and on up, they're actually effective at removing the sort of contaminants that we would be concerned about during an emergency. N95 basically means that it can remove 95% of certain airborne particulates. And then other respirators, like I actually prefer the P100 half-face respirators. Those, they're almost kind of like a gas mask in that they use sort of like a silicone rubber to form a tight seal. Now, unlike a gas mask, which goes around your entire face, this just covers your nose and your mouth, but it'll remove different like sort of chemical vapors and things like that. So I like them just because I have one mask that I can use for pretty much everything, whether, I'm doing yard work, sanding, painting, having to use cleaning chemicals, whatever. It just works for pretty much everything. And if you already have gas masks and filters, then you're pretty good to go on that. But N95 masks, you can get those for around 5 or 10 bucks, and then you can get a P100 with a set of filters for around $45 at places like Lowe's and other hardware stores. Then along those same lines, FEMA also wants its employees to have work gloves and medical or exam gloves, and these are separate items. During a disaster, you never know what you might have to touch. If there's a storm blows through and there's a lot of debris, you might have to clear boards with nails sticking out of it, sharp, jagged pieces of metal, and if that's the case, you definitely want to have some thick, heavy-duty leather work gloves on to keep your hands from getting all cut up, because if those are messed up, then you aren't going to be very useful after that. Then, if you come across somebody that's sick, whether they're family or not, or they get injured, you don't want to be touching things like blood, vomit, or any other bodily fluids without some sort of protection on. That protects both you, and if somebody's injured, it also protects them as well. You can get decent leather work gloves for around 15 bucks now, and you can also get a 100 count box of nitrile gloves for around 10. Next up, we have headlamps, and I'm not really sure why they don't put this one on their main list. They do include a flashlight, which, I mean, they should, but if you have a headlamp and you're able to work hands-free, you'll be able to do things like first aid, deal with any, kid situations that you have to, because the little ones, they do tend to lose their mess when things get scary. Or, I mean, you might have to go out and shut off your utilities, and you don't want to be fumbling with a flashlight while you're doing that. And headlamps, I mean, they're pretty stinking cheap now. You can get a nice, bright, rechargeable one for probably around 15 or 20 bucks. Then after that, we have one that FEMA doesn't include on any of their, quote, civilian list, and that's a cot or some other off-the-floor sleeping platform. And I think the big reason why they don't include that on their list is because when they open shelters and things like that, they actually provide the cots in most cases. But as preppers, we're not really wanting to stay at a shelter. If we have to end up at a shelter, then our plan done crap the bed really, really hard. But regardless of what situation we're in, we don't want to sleep on the ground. When it's cold, it'll zap the heat right out of you. If you're staying in an area with a lot of other people, then respiratory issues can start spreading very quickly. And I mean, also some idiot could just step on your head while you're sleeping. And you can get cots for probably around 50 to 80 bucks. But I will say, if you are a heavier individual, you might want to, spring for one that's a little higher quality. Then another thing they don't include on their normie list is hard hats and safety helmets. And the reason why we might want one of those is kind of similar to the glove situation. If a storm blows through and there's debris in everywhere, the existing structures that are still quasi-standing, they might not be standing for very long. Things could fall, and also, some dingleberry who's not paying attention could also just throw stuff behind you, then knock you on the head, and having a hard hat could be very useful. And like some other items on this list, it's available in like the $40 to $50 range. But one thing that I was very surprised to not see on these lists is some sort of multi-tool, like a Leatherman folding tool. Their lists do include things like a wrench to turn off your utilities, but there's a lot of other things that you may need to do around your house and property, or even on the go, that a wrench just isn't the best tool for the job. And the good thing about a multi-tool is you don't have to carry your whole dang toolkit with you to be able to do a lot of different things. Leatherman, they always get kind of the most press for this just because, that they were the first one. And, if somebody says multi-tool, half the time they'll say Leatherman, even if that ain't the specific tool that they have. I actually like the Leathermans, like the Wave, but I also like the Swiss tool family of multi-tools. To me, they're just a little more refined. They're a little nicer to use, but, I mean, either a Leatherman or a Swiss tool, and I think some of the others, too, they're going to be okay. Just don't go totally cheap on them. A decent quality multi-tool, I would probably expect to pay $100 to $120 on. With those, you're going to get better materials. They're not as likely to break on you, and the blade is going to be sharp, which that's nice, but you'll have basic tools like pliers with a wire cutter, different kinds of screwdrivers, can openers, which that's an important one. You don't want to be caught without a can opener. Then another thing that FEMA wants its employees and volunteers to have with them is knee pads. And these obviously are important, for disaster cleanup, anything like that, because if you want to protect your hands and your head, you want to protect your knees too. But for folks like us, in addition to all that, it's also gardening season. A lot of us are spending a lot more time on our hands and knees, and having some sort of knee pads or also kneelers, that can make a big difference. Now, when it comes to knee pads, I will say you probably don't want to cheap out too much on those. I've had some cheap knee pads, and all those did was transfer the pain from like the front of my knee to the back of my legs because of how the straps were designed and stuff like that. They were actually incredibly uncomfortable to use, but you might be able to find some decent knee pads somewhere in the neighborhood of like $30 or so. Then along those same lines, we have safety glasses and hearing protection. I didn't know this until I started working on this video, but eye injuries are actually one of the most common causes of ER visits after a disaster. So if you're doing any sort of work, even if you're having to, repair something with just hammer and nails, keep your eyeglass or keep your safety glasses on so that nothing flies into your eyeball. Then when it comes to hearing protection, you might be in close proximity to a running generator for a while. You might also be operating a chainsaw for hours on end, and both of those are really stinking loud. Just get some earplugs, something like that. If you want to be fancy, then you can get something like these Walker's Disruptor earbuds. In addition to protecting your hearing, they'll also amplify the more quiet sounds around you, so you can hear somebody walking up to you, you can hear people talking to you. I actually like to use those when I'm shooting. Then one big one that really should be on all of their list is two-way radios. I believe that when they're doing different, sort of work or operations, they use MERS band radios. But for us, that could be just simple FRS walkie-talkies. It could be GMRS radios. If you're really into it, you could go the ham route. What I personally recommend doing is picking up a set of GMRS radios like these, and then just paying the little 10-year licensing fee. I think it's like $35. If that's incorrect, I'll be sure to put a correction down here. But with that, you're getting a much more powerful radio than the little bubble pack radios you can buy at Walmart or Cabela's or whatever. But those radios really don't cost a whole lot more. You just have to mess with doing the license, after you navigate through their website, it's really not a big deal. And then finally, we have Pew Pews, Freedom Seeds, and high-velocity Pez dispensers. Now, FEMA doesn't send out their employees or volunteers with those things, but I can almost guarantee you that there's going to be some sort of law enforcement or military presence around those folks, making sure that they're safe while they're doing their jobs. And that's not really something that we as private individuals have the luxury of, so we got to kind of do it ourselves. So if you're able to where you live, I know we have a lot of folks overseas and that's not really a thing over there, but I mean, if you live in Texas like I do, you don't really have an excuse for not doing that. Now, if you want to see my video where I pick apart FEMA's actual normie list, then click here. Or if you want to see items that every prepper should buy before this June, then click here. Thank y'all for stopping by. Y'all have a good one.